The Seventh Empire was dying. Across the stars, darkness was growing. An alien force, cold and brutal, had already destroyed 5 planets. Cities burned, soldiers screamed, and people prayed. The Galactic Empire, the strongest power in the universe, was losing. In desperation, the Emperor sent a message to every allied world. We need warriors. Send your best. The Empire must survive. Ships arrived from many planets. Thousands of soldiers stepped out. Tall ones, strong ones. Soldiers with blades for arms. Soldiers with fire in their blood. Every world gave their finest. And then, Earth replied. Only one ship came. Small, old, and ugly. From it stepped out a man. Just one. He wore a black jacket, no armor, no weapons. His hair was messy and his boots were dirty. He looked around, saw the tall alien soldiers and smiled. His name was Jack Riker. A general of the Empire looked at him with confusion. "Are you the pilot?" he asked. Jack grinned. "Nope, I'm the army." The general laughed. Then he saw Jack's eyes, calm, sharp, and not afraid. The general stopped laughing. Jack was taken to the Empire's flagship, the Void Hammer. A city-sized ship that floated above the war planet Kalian 7. It was preparing for battle. Inside, soldiers trained, officers argued, and medics carried the wounded. Everyone was busy except Jack. He whistled while walking through the halls. People stared. Some laughed. Some whispered, "Is this a joke? Earth sent only him? He's going to die." But Jack just smiled. The Emperor ordered Jack to be tested. Generals wanted proof. They sent him into the simulation room, a place where holograms became real. Jack stepped in. The door locked behind him. The lights went red. Enemy soldiers appeared. 20 of them. Real weapons. Real danger. A voice said, "Begin." Jack stood. Still the enemies charged. But Jack moved like water. Smooth, fast, impossible to catch. He picked up a metal pipe from the floor and used it like a sword. In less than a minute, every enemy was down. The generals watching were silent. "Run it again," one whispered. They did. 50 enemies this time. Jack beat them too. This time he didn't even get scratched. "How is he doing this?" a soldier asked. "We don't know," said another. "He's just too fast." After the test, Jack returned to his room. He laid on his bed and stared at the ceiling. Outside, the stars moved slowly. Suddenly, the lights flickered, then went out. Across the Void Hammer, power systems shut down. Alarm screamed, officers shouted, weapons locked, the ship was blind. "What's happening?" the general yelled. "Unknown problem," replied an engineer. Security teams ran to the control core. They found nothing broken. But in the center of the room, someone was sitting on the floor. Jack. He looked up, smiled, and said, "Nice ship, but it needs better wiring." "How did you get in here?" an officer asked. Jack stood. "Ducker was open." "No, it wasn't." Jack didn't reply. He walked past them and left. The power came back. The generals had a meeting that night. "This man, he's dangerous. Earth must be playing a game. Or maybe he is the game." The Emperor said only one thing. "Let him fight. We will see what one man can do." The next morning, the war began. Fleets flew toward Kalian 7. The enemy had already landed. The Empire's soldiers got ready, armor on, guns loaded. Prayers said. Jack walked up to the general. "Send me in first," he said. "Alone?" "Yes." The general looked at him, then nodded. "Good luck." Jack smiled again. "I don't need it." His drop pod shot through the sky, fire trailing behind. Others watched from screens, waiting, nervous. The pod landed. Dust rose. No sound. No signal. 1 hour passed. 2. No news. Then, static on the comms. A voice. "Hey, it's done. Send a cleanup crew." A camera feed came online. Jack stood in the Middle of a ruined alien camp, bodies everywhere, no signs of struggle, no damage to him. He waved at the camera. Told you, one man's enough. The Empire watched, in silence. Tests and tension. The Empire's officers were confused. Some were impressed, many were afraid. Jack Riker had destroyed an entire alien camp, alone. No help, no backup, no armor. He came back, without a scratch, just a calm face and that same strange smile. Rumors spread quickly across the Voidhammer. He's not human. He's a secret weapon. Earth lied. They sent something else. Jack didn't care. He walked through the ship like he owned it, relaxed, whistling, even joking with robots. But the Empire wasn't done with him. They needed to know how he did it. So they tested him again, not just with combat. This time, they tested everything. Test 1. Strength. He lifted a plasma cannon, something that takes 3 soldiers to move, with one hand. No effort. The weight sensors blinked red. Overload detected. Test 2. Reaction speed. Laser darts fired at him from random directions. Jack moved before they even launched. He caught 2 midair. With his eyes closed. Test 3. Mind scan. The Empire used a telepath to read his thoughts. After 5 seconds, the telepath screamed and fainted. "What did you see?" they asked. The telepath whispered, "He's seen war, the kind that breaks gods." The room went silent. Officers started to argue. Some wanted to keep using Jack. Others wanted him locked away. One even suggested killing him before he turned on them. But no one dared say it when Jack was near, because deep down they all knew. This man was watching. And he knew more than he showed. Jack was called to the Emperor's chamber, a tall hall made of dark crystal and light flowing like water in the air. Guards stood like statues. At the center sat the Emperor, a being over 300 years old, with a voice that echoed like thunder. "Jack Riker," the Emperor said. "What are you?" Jack smiled. "Just a man from Earth." The Emperor stood. "Men don't move like you. Men don't win wars alone." Jack looked him in the eyes. "Maybe Earth makes different men." The Emperor stepped closer. "Do you follow orders?" Jack shrugged. "Depends on the order." The guards tensed, but the Emperor laughed. "Good. War needs madness." Later that night, Jack sat alone in the observation deck. Stars burned outside the glass. He watched them quietly. A young soldier named Ellis approached. He had seen Jack's tests and couldn't stop thinking about it. "Sir, can I ask something?" Jack looked at him. "Sure. Why do you smile all the time, even in battle?" Jack leaned back. His grin faded a little. "Because if I don't, I remember things I don't want to." "Like what?" Jack didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out a small photo from his pocket. It was old, folded. A team of soldiers, smiling, laughing, all of them wearing Earth uniforms. Ellis pointed. "That your squad?" "Was," Jack said softly. "Now their names on a wall." Ellis didn't ask more. Jack stood and walked away. The next day, a new order came. The enemy had taken control of a ruined alien temple on planet Dyros 4. The Empire couldn't break through the force field. Every drone and team sent had disappeared, Jack volunteered. The generals hesitated. "He's not a weapon we control. But he's the only one who can go in and come out." They agreed. Jack was dropped near the temple at nightfall. Dark winds blew. The structure was massive, ancient, and covered in glowing symbols. There was no sound inside. He entered alone. For hours. Nothing. No signal. No movement. No answers. Then, a sound on the ship's comms. Static. Then Jack's voice. "You're not going to believe what's in here." "What is it?" the general asked. Jack replied slowly. "Something old. Something alive." The comms cut off. Alarms rang. The force field around the temple suddenly vanished. The Empire sent in teams. Inside, they found nothing, except Jack sitting on a broken stone throne. Around him were markings glowing red like they had just been activated. In his hand was a crystal pulsing with power. "What is that?" An officer asked. Jack stood up. "A warning." "A warning from who?" Jack looked at the glowing walls. Symbols moved like fire under the stone. "From whatever used to rule this galaxy," he said. "And maybe still does." They took him back to the Voidhammer. The artifact was placed in lockdown. But that night, a whisper moved through the ship. Not a voice. Not words. A feeling. Fear. Jack couldn't sleep. He sat on his bed, holding the crystal. His grin was gone. For the first time since he arrived. He looked worried. First blood a week passed since Jack returned from the alien temple. The artifact he brought back, dark red, pulsing like a heartbeat, was now locked in the deepest vault of the Voidhammer. Scientists scanned it every day, but it refused to speak, refused to open. It just glowed. And waited. Jack watched from a distance. He knew something was wrong. One night, the ship changed. Small things. Lights flickering with no reason. Voices echoing in empty halls. Soldiers waking up screaming, saying they dreamed of ancient stars, dead gods, black suns, and all of them dreamed of Jack. The Empire decided to move. They had located a hidden fortress of the enemy deep inside planet, Sarvex 19, a cold jungle world covered in fog and poisonous rivers. Scouts had vanished there. No survivors. But intelligence said this base was different. Not just a command post, a lab, a nest, a place where the enemy was building something new. "Send the army," a general said. "No," the Emperor replied. "Send Jack, and this. Time. Watch closely." Jack was dropped alone in the jungle. The air was thick. The fog moved like it was alive. Vines curled toward him. Distant sounds. Animal or machine, no one could tell. But Jack walked calmly. His boots crunched over bones. He came upon a crashed Empire shuttle, burned out, torn open. Inside were the remains of 5 soldiers, faces frozen in terror. They didn't die in a fight. They died running. Jack kept moving. For 6 hours he wandered deeper. The jungle grew colder. Then he saw it. The fortress. A giant structure of black stone and alien steel rising from the swamp like a buried god. No doors. No guards. Just silence. He walked in. Inside, the walls were wet, pulsing. Alive, not built. Grown. Machines floated by, shaped like insects. Some watched him. Some ignored him. Jack reached a large chamber filled with pods. Inside each one, a creature twitched in its sleep. Half machine, half flesh, all nightmare. They were making soldiers. Not cloning, breeding. Living weapons. Born in the dark. Jack raised his comm. "I found it. You're going to want a full strike team. This place isn't just a base. It's a factory." "Copy," came the reply. "Do you see resistance?" Jack looked around. Not yet. And then he felt it. A change in the air. Like something had opened its eyes. From the far end of the room, something moved. Tall. Silent. Wrapped in armor that looked grown, not made. Glowing red eyes. It stepped forward. It spoke in perfect English. "You're the one." Jack didn't move. Depends who's asking. The Empire's smiling ghost. The destroyer of camps. The human who fears nothing. Jack smiled faintly. "You forgot, handsome." The creature didn't laugh. "They sent you alone because they trust you, but they shouldn't. You are not what you think you are." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You know me? I know what you were made to be. I know what you carry inside you." Jack's grin faded. The creature charged. What followed wasn't a fight. It was war, compressed into seconds. Jack moved fast, but the creature matched him. They crashed into walls, ripped through machines, struck each other with force that cracked steel. For the first time since arriving in the Empire, Jack bled a Deep slash across his side. Glowing blue blood spilled out. Not red. The creature saw it and smiled. Ah, there it is. The truth. Jack kicked the creature back, breathing heavy. What truth? He asked. You're not a man. You're a door. Before Jack could answer, the fortress began to shake. Jack had activated a self-destruct earlier, just in case. The enemy creature lunged one last time, but Jack grabbed a pipe and rammed it through its chest. I'm also the guy who brought the key, he said. He ran. The whole place collapsed. Behind him. Flames rose. The jungle screamed. A dropship picked him up just in time. On the Void Hammer, medics patched him up. They looked at his wound in silence. No one asked about the blue blood. No one mentioned the way his cut healed too fast. No one said a word, but they were all thinking the same thing. He isn't human. Not fully. Jack sat in the medbay, staring at his hands. He flexed them. They looked normal, but he remembered the enemy's words. You are not a man. You are a door. What did that mean? What was inside him? In the Emperor's chamber, the generals argued again. He's powerful, but unstable. He's bleeding blue blood. What if he turns on us? The Emperor raised a hand. He is our blade, and blades are dangerous. But until he breaks, we let him cut. Meanwhile, in the vault, the artifact pulsed faster. It was waiting for something, or someone. Jack returned to his quarters. He stood before a mirror. He looked into his own eyes, and for a second they changed. Not blue, not brown. Black. Full of stars. He looked away. His grin returned. But this time, it was weaker. Not full. Just a mask. The enemy notices. The war wasn't going well for the enemy. After Jack Riker destroyed the fortress on Sarvex 19, the Empire started to gain ground. Alien warlords who once crushed empires were now retreating. Enemy ships warped out of systems without a fight. They weren't running from the Empire. They were running from him. In dark corners of the galaxy, the enemy held meetings. Shadowy figures, part machine, part flesh, argued over holoscreens and whispered in forgotten languages. One voice cut through them all. The human is not human. Then what is he? One asked. A gate. They all went silent. They began calling him by a new name. The Smiling Death. On the Void Hammer, Jack wasn't smiling much anymore. He stood alone on the outer deck, staring into the stars. He hadn't spoken to anyone in days. His wound had healed, but something had changed. His dreams were louder now. In his sleep, he saw strange shapes, towering figures made of stone and light. He heard whispers in languages he'd never learned, yet somehow understood. Open. Awaken. Return. He would wake, in sweat, heart racing, and sometimes, his reflection in the mirror didn't move when he did. The artifact in the vault pulsed brighter each day. Scientists recorded energy spikes matching Jack's heart rate. One night, it spoke. Not out loud, not in sound, but in thought, to everyone on the ship. He is the door. Then it went dark. The Emperor summoned his top minds. If he's a door, the Emperor asked, what is trying to come through? No one had an answer, but everyone was thinking it. Maybe Jack wasn't sent to fight the enemy. Maybe Jack was sent to keep something else inside. Meanwhile, the enemy made a decision. They would not run anymore. They would not wait. They would kill Jack Riker. Across the stars, a trap was set. The planet Garad 12 sent a distress signal. A hidden Empire outpost was under siege. Unknown attackers. Signal jammed. High priority. The Empire's fleet prepared to move. Jack walked into the command deck. I'll go alone. The generals refused. They argued, begged, warned. You bled last time. They hurt you. This could be worse. Jack looked at them calmly. Exactly. And if it's worse, you don't want to be there. He left without another word. The dropship entered Garrod 12's atmosphere. Dark red clouds covered the sky. The ground was black glass. Ruins stretched across the horizon. An old alien city, dead for centuries, but the buildings weren't empty. Jack stepped out and walked through them. They were waiting, hundreds. Of them not soldiers, priests. They wore robes made of metal wires and skin. They stood in silence, forming a circle around a single figure. A tall, thin being with a mouth sewn shut, eyes burning with golden fire. It stepped forward. Jack didn't speak. Neither did the creature. It raised a hand, and the sky cracked. Jack dropped to one knee. A force hit him. Not a weapon, not a blast, but a pressure. Something inside him was being pulled, stretched, like something ancient was knocking on a door deep within his bones. The priests began to chant. Open. Awaken. Return. Jack screamed. His eyes went black. Not like before. This time, stars swirled. In them, something was coming through, but Jack stood up and he spoke. Not yet. The sky shattered. Jack unleashed himself. The ground broke under his feet. The priests were thrown back, crushed under invisible weight. The tall one attacked, hurling light and shadow, but Jack moved faster than thought. He didn't fight like a man. He fought like a force of nature. He touched the tall one's forehead and whispered, I know what I am. The creature turned to dust. The chanting stopped. Jack stood alone. The city crumbled, but above him, something moved behind the clouds. A shape. Large. Watching. Waiting. Jack looked up, and for the first time, he looked afraid. Back on the Void Hammer, Jack didn't report. In the command room, couldn't reach him. The planet showed massive energy readings, then silence. A retrieval team was sent. They found him standing in the center of the dead city, arms at his sides. Eyes normal. Clothes torn. No enemies left. No bodies. Just ashes. They brought him back. But something followed. That night the ship shook, not from weapons, from inside. Every light turned red. Alarms failed. Doors locked. A voice whispered across the ship. He opened it. Jack woke in his bed, breathing hard. His skin glowed faintly in the dark. His heartbeat shook the walls. The Emperor ordered isolation. Lock him down. No more missions. But it was too late. The door inside him wasn't closed anymore. Jack sat in the medbay. A mirror across from him cracked on its own. His reflection smiled before he did. Behind the Grin, the Empire no longer trusted Jack Riker. After Garrod 12, they stopped calling him a soldier. Now they called him a containment risk. He wasn't allowed on missions. He wasn't allowed near the artifact. He wasn't even allowed to speak to anyone without supervision. Jack didn't argue. He sat in a quiet chamber deep inside the Void Hammer. No windows, no visitors, just silence. But silence was dangerous, because that's when the memories came back. Jack used to think his past was simple. A soldier. A war. A mission gone wrong. Everyone died except him. At least, that's what they told him. But now, the dreams were clearer. He wasn't just a survivor, he was the mission. It began 10 years earlier on Earth. The world was at peace, but behind locked doors, hidden under oceans and mountains, humanity had begun building something secret. Project Revenant. A last resort. They knew one day, something would come from the stars. Something too powerful for fleets, too strange for nukes. So they decided to create a weapon in the shape of a man. Jack Riker wasn't born. He was selected. He was one of 23 candidates, trained beyond human limits, broken and rebuilt, trained again. But the project wasn't just about muscle or speed. It was about integration. They had discovered something ancient, buried under Antarctica, a sliver of non-human matter that bent gravity and space. A shard, they called it. They fused it with Jack's nervous system. He was the only one who survived. The others screamed until they didn't exist anymore. Jack didn't scream. He smiled. After the fusion, Jack changed. His body adapted. His thoughts expanded. He could hear radio signals without devices, feel movement without touching, understand languages he'd never studied. But something else came with it, something that watched from the inside. The scientists wrote in their logs, Subject Riker no longer responds to pain like a human. His dreams cause seismic waves within a 12-meter radius. He smiles too often. It's not comfort, it's control. Eventually, the project leaders made a decision. Lock him down. He was too dangerous, too unpredictable. They would keep him in stasis until the day came when the universe needed a monster. That day came when the Empire called for help, and Earth answered with a grin. Back in the Void Hammer, Jack sat in his cell. The walls were thick, but not thick enough to stop memory. He closed his eyes, and suddenly, he was back in the lab. The room was white, cold, full of mirrors. A voice spoke. His own. From behind him. You think you're Jack Riker? He turned. His reflection stared back, but it wasn't quite him. Darker, smoother, no wounds, no smile. You're not the man they made, the reflection said. You're the thing they woke up. Jack opened his eyes. Sweat ran down his neck. On the floor beneath him, the metal had melted into a spiral. He hadn't moved. Meanwhile, the Emperor called a secret meeting. He's not a weapon. He's a vault, and something is trying to come out. The artifact was now glowing non-stop. Cameras couldn't film it. Sensors failed to scan it. It pulsed in time with Jack's heartbeat. We need to destroy it, a general said. We need to destroy him, another replied. But no one gave the order. No one wanted to be the one remembered for trying. Then one night, Jack vanished. No broken doors. No alarms. Just gone. Room empty. Walls untouched. The only thing left behind? His jacket, folded neatly on the bed. Panic spread through the Void Hammer. Ships were grounded. Officers searched every corridor. But Jack was not on the ship. He was inside the artifact chamber. They didn't know how he got in. The chamber was sealed in 16 layers of steel and force fields, but he stood there now, shirtless, hands at his sides, eyes locked on the crystal. It floated in the air, spinning slowly. Jack spoke softly. I remember now, the crystal answered. We remember too. It split open like a flower, revealing something that looked like a heart. Beating, but not alive. Jack reached out, touched it. In that moment, every light in the Empire's systems turned off. Not just on the ship, not just in orbit. Across 5-star systems. Total blackout. In the Void Hammer, emergency lights flickered on. Officers ran, weapons armed, and then the ship began to move. Not through space, but through reality. Jack had opened something. Not a portal. Not a wormhole. A memory in space itself. The ship stood still, but outside the windows. Stars were in wrong places. Time flowed sideways. Planets reversed their rotation. A scream echoed across every radio channel. A voice from beyond. You carried us. We are awake. Inside the artifact chamber, Jack fell to his knees. He wasn't breathing, but his chest rose. Something else inside him was moving. His skin flickered between human and something older. Then his eyes snapped open. No longer black, just pure white. Jack? A voice asked behind him. It was Ellis, the young soldier from before, terrified, holding a pulse rifle but shaking. Jack turned. He looked empty. No emotion, no grin, just silence. Then Jack spoke. Softly, but not in English. Not in any human language. Elise's nose began to bleed. He dropped the rifle and ran. Jack didn't chase him. He turned back to the crystal. You waited long enough, he said. But not yet. I'm not ready. He clenched his fist, and the crystal shut. The lights came back. Stars returned to their place. The ship stopped shaking. Jack collapsed. Later, He awoke in the medbay. Alone. A note left beside him, handwritten. You are not the door anymore, you are the key. No name, no signature, just truth. Jack looked at it for a long time, then finally he smiled again. But this time, there was no warmth in it, just warning. The Empire's mistake. There was a saying across the galaxy, the Empire fears no one. But that was no longer true. They feared Jack Riker now. And fear, when left unchecked, becomes paranoia. After the artifact incident, after the lights died across 5 systems, the High Command met behind locked doors, far from the Emperor, far from the cameras. They didn't speak Jack's name out loud anymore. They called him It, or Subject Zero. He's no longer under control. His biology isn't stable. The thing inside him is learning to wake up. A silent agreement passed through the room. He must be destroyed. They didn't tell the Emperor, not yet. They knew he admired Jack, perhaps even feared him a little. But they couldn't risk interference. This mission would be off-record, off-grid, quiet, clean, final operation. Name, Silver Silence. A hand-picked team of 20. Not ordinary soldiers. These were void assassins, ghosts, in armor trained to kill anything, even allies. They were briefed with 3 rules. Don't talk to the target. Don't let him speak. Finish it before he understands what's happening. They all accepted. None would return. Jack, meanwhile, sat quietly in a gravity chamber near the ship's core. He was trying to stay still, trying not to dream. But dreams didn't wait for sleep anymore. They came even with his eyes open. He saw a tower of bone in a sky that had no stars, a creature with 10 mouths, each whispering a name he couldn't remember. A door in the shape of a spiral, locked, waiting, almost alive, and in the center of it all, himself. Floating, glowing, breaking apart, and smiling, he opened his eyes. The room was cold. Too cold. His breath fogged in the air. Then, silence. No hum of the engines, no pulse of the lights. He knew. They were coming. The assassins moved fast. Silent suits, no energy signatures. Weapons made to kill even gods. They entered the chamber. Jack was sitting on the floor, head lowered. One of them raised a neural blade. Strike. Fast. No sound. He lunged, but the moment the blade reached Jack's neck, everything stopped. Time, sound, movement. Jack looked up. His eyes were white, not glowing, not human, just white. Like they had forgotten how to be eyes. The assassin hovered midair, frozen. Jack stood slowly. He placed a hand on the man's chest and whispered something, just one word. The assassin crumpled into dust. Time resumed. The rest attacked. Too late. Jack didn't fight them. He unmade them, with a breath, with a word, with a thought. In less than a minute, the room was empty. Jack stood alone and whispered, "They're afraid now." Across the ship, alarms failed to ring. The Empire tried to cover it up. They called it a training incident. But everyone knew. Jack Riker had been marked for death and he had survived. Again. The Emperor summoned him. No guards, no weapons, just the 2 of them. They stood in the garden of the inner palace, a floating biosphere where real trees grew. The Emperor looked tired, older. Jack said nothing. "They acted without my order," the Emperor began. Jack raised an eyebrow. "But not without your fear." Silence. Then the Emperor asked the question no one had dared ask aloud. "What are you now?" Jack looked up at the sky, then at his hands. "I don't know," he said. "But whatever it is, it's still waking up." The Emperor stepped closer. "Do you want to destroy us?" Jack met his eyes. "Not yet." And that was the end of the conversation. After that day, Jack was no longer a guest of the Empire. He became watched. Every corridor he walked had eyes. Every meal was scanned. Every word recorded, But he didn't run. He stayed, because he knew running wouldn't help. This wasn't about the Empire anymore. In the shadows of space, enemy factions began to stir again, but not to attack, to observe. They started sending ships near the Void Hammer. No weapons, just eyes. They wanted to see what Jack would become. Some even whispered, "He's not their weapon anymore, he's everyone's warning." Inside his quarters, Jack began writing something. No one knew what. But if someone had entered, they would have seen it. A symbol, drawn in blood, a spiral, again and again, over and over. And one phrase, "I am the key. I am the cage. Don't let me choose." What no one in the Empire realized yet was this. They were not afraid because Jack might go rogue. They were afraid because he might go honest, and they wouldn't like what came with the truth. 3 days after the failed assassination, a fleet arrived. Enemy ships, not to fight, to talk. They sent a message across all channels: "We request a meeting with the one who grins." The Empire refused. Jack didn't. One-man army, across the galaxy, fleets moved into position. The enemy had returned, not as scattered warbands or raiders, but as one force, unified, colossal. Final. They didn't send a warning. They sent a wall of ships that blocked out stars. They didn't demand surrender. They didn't want peace. They wanted to erase everything, and at the center of their formation was something no one could describe, a shape that looked like a planet but wasn't. It shifted, it breathed, it hummed like a dying god. The architects had awakened. Inside the Void Hammer, the Emperor stood before his commanders, his voice calm but heavy. "This is not a battle for territory," he said. "This is a battle for memory, for meaning, for what will remain in the dark." The admirals listened, but they were all thinking the same thing. They had no chance. Not against this. Jack Riker sat alone in his quarters, shirtless, silent, unmoving. The eye spiral mark now glowed on his chest. Every breath was like thunder. Every second the floor beneath him cracked a little more. He had stopped dreaming, because he was no longer sleeping. Then a knock. The door slid open. Ellis, the young soldier, entered, trembling. They want you on the bridge," he said. Jack looked up. His eyes were no longer white. They were clear and full of light. Not human light. Not machine. Origin. He stood. The ground shook slightly as he passed Ellis. He stopped. "When this is over," Jack said, "if I don't come back, remember one thing." "What?" Ellis asked. Jack smiled. "I wasn't the weapon. I was the warning." On the bridge, the Empire's officers turned as Jack entered. No one spoke. Even the Emperor took a step back. Jack looked at the tactical display. Enemy fleets surrounded every Empire system. They had waited long enough. The final war had begun. "Let me go alone," Jack said. The room went cold. "We won't survive that way," a general snapped. "We need fleets, armies, a full defense." Jack cut him off. "You don't need armies." His hand rose. His body pulsed, and for the first time, they saw it. His true form. Not armor, not magic, not a trick. Evolved human potential fused with something ancient. His skin cracked like stone filled with starlight. His veins pulsed with spiral fire. His voice echoed in ways that didn't make sense. "You just need one man," he said. Jack stepped into the launch bay, but no dropship came for him. He became the drop. His body launched like a comet, wrapped in his own gravity field. He passed through enemy fire, melted missiles with a glance, and hit the enemy's flagship like a meteor. The explosion blinded half the fleet, and he didn't stop. He moved across space like a storm. One man, one force. Dozens of ships fell before he even touched them. His presence broke navigation systems, overheated reactors, turned AIs to static. But then, the architects moved. The planet-shaped entity uncoiled. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a station. It was alive, and it had been waiting for him. Jack landed. On its surface, a skin of stone, flesh, and memory. The gravity was wrong. The light bent in strange angles. Then it spoke, not in words, not in sound, but directly into every memory he had. You are ours. Jack stood. I was never yours. He said. The surface of the entity opened like a flower. Inside, stars, voices. The minds of 1,000 forgotten civilizations all consumed. This was not an enemy. This was the end of all stories. And Jack walked in. Inside, time broke. His body shifted through past, future, and something in between. He saw himself as a child. He saw himself as a god. He saw Earth burning. He saw the universe beginning again. And still he walked. At the core, he saw it. The source. A spiral-shaped construct pulsing in and out of reality. The same shape carved into his skin. The same shape in his blood. He was born to hold this. But holding it had a cost. Outside, the Empire fought on. But without Jack, they were losing. Ships fell. Cities burned. Stations screamed and went silent. The Emperor watched from the void hammer as the stars dimmed. He's not coming back, someone whispered. The Emperor closed his eyes. No, he said. He's not. Inside the entity, Jack reached the core. His body was barely holding shape now. His hands were light. His face was memory. He looked into the spiral and whispered, You don't belong here. The spiral pulsed. Neither do you, Jack laughed. Exactly. He wrapped himself around the spiral, became the cage again, and whispered one last time. Close. The entity screamed. Space shook. Then, silence. Across the galaxy, enemy ships froze mid-flight, collapsed, crumbled. The architects were gone. Not destroyed. Sealed. Again. The Empire watched as the enemy fleets vanished. Victory. But at what cost? They searched for Jack for days. Nothing. No signal. No body. No trace. Just a spiral-shaped mark carved into the surface of the enemy's last stronghold, and one final message burned into the ground in human script. One man was enough. Months passed. Peace returned. Systems rebuilt. But legends began to spread. Pilots who saw a man walking on asteroid belts. Freighters rescued by a figure made of starlight. Children in their dreams meeting a man with a grin who told them, Don't be afraid of the dark. I'm still here. Some say Jack Riker died that day. Others say he became something else. A myth. A guardian. A cosmic warning. But Earth remembers. They know the truth. He wasn't sent to win the war. He was sent to end the story, and he did.